Okay, so a lot of times I get the ideas for these videos based on the people that I'm talking to, some of my clients. And one of the consistent things that I'll get, even in the comments, is the question of, should I reach out and apologize? I even did a previous video that said, look, before you go into no contact and start trying to strategize on how to win the person back that you lost, if you were the cause of the breakup, if you were manipulating, if you took them for granted, if you were the douchebag, if you deserved the breakup, don't go into no contact and try to win them back without acknowledging the pain that you caused. Don't even try to chase after them and pour out your heart telling them how much pain you're in, expecting your pain to mean something to them when their pain didn't mean much to you during the relationship. It doesn't make sense. If you don't acknowledge the pain that you inflicted, if you caused the breakup, you should own it. But the problem with encouraging people to take ownership and accountability for the ways they caused the breakup or the loss of the relationship is sometimes it's hard to know. Like sometimes people will say, yeah, I took them for granted. Well, took them for granted is a very general phrase. The problem with trying to apologize and take accountability and let the person that you lost know that you can see how you screwed it up is knowing if you actually screwed it up. For example, let's say I've been happily married now for 10 years. My wife is the love of my life. But she could come home from work tonight, sit me down on the couch for a conversation and say, I feel like you're taking me for granted lately. And she'd have a valid point. Because no relationship, especially a significant, meaningful adult relationship, is going to exist where one of you doesn't take the other one for granted. Sometimes for a longer period of time. I could sit her down and say, hey, I feel like you're taking me for granted. Both of us would take a deep breath, listen to what the other person said, analyze the reality of the situation, and probably come up with some moments where we both legitimately took each other for granted. So that general phrase, that general complaint of, I do feel like I took them for granted. I do feel like they weren't as important as they should have been. If it's a general complaint that you could apply to any meaningful long-term relationship, you probably didn't cause the breakup. So the reason I'm making this video is because it can be difficult sometimes to recognize the difference between an imperfection. Like again, my wife could come home and write a list of 10 imperfections, and they're all legitimate. But an imperfection is going to exist in any relationship. The difference between that and toxic, abusive, relationship-breaking behavior. That's the purpose of this video. Sometimes it's difficult to tell the difference between those two things, especially when you're in an emotional crisis. If you're going through a painful breakup, your brain's on fire. It's like when you're in a state of emotional crisis, your brain activates and starts hyper-analyzing everything. You go into that dark limerence, one of the natural things that will happen is that you'll elevate the worth of the person that just walked away from you. It's an instinctive thing to do. So in other words, you're going to see them as more perfect than they were. You're going to start instinctively looking for the cause. What was the moment? How did I break it? What was the attitude? Was there just a key moment in time when things started to take a downturn and I didn't notice? So it's like your mind becomes a forensic expert of the relationship. You start to CSI everything about that relationship, trying to find out where you got it wrong. While you're doing that, you're collecting any sign, any evidence that you messed it up. So you'll remember a certain tone. You'll remember a certain word that you shouldn't have said. You'll remember a request that they gave that you didn't follow through on. You'll remember a promise that you didn't fulfill. In other words, you're a very motivated investigator trying to find the cause of this event, of this breakup. And while you're in that state of mind, you're going to collect a lot of evidence. Before you're done, it won't take you very long before you'll think, I don't blame them for breaking up with me. After I've been hyper-analyzed and seeing everything that I got wrong, all the ways I should have been better, I've got a mountain of evidence that convinces even me I deserved for them to end this relationship. And it'll seem like reality to you, but it might not actually be reality. So a few things you can do to get some indicators of if you actually caused the breakup. Don't trust your emotion, but you can trust the people around you. Now, there is a caveat to this. If you're a douchebag surrounded by douchebag friends who support you no matter what, like if you robbed that bank, beat that old woman and took her social security check, ran over that dog, and your friend's going to high-five you for all those things, don't talk to those friends. If you have real friends that will hold you accountable for when you're a douche, that will hold you accountable for when you get something wrong, somebody that has the courage and cares enough about you to tell you your behavior is hurtful, toxic, and is going to end up working against you, go to those friends, go to those family members, people that aren't automatically loyal to you no matter what, despite your stupidity. Go to people who love you enough to tell you the heartbreaking truth. Tell them what you did. If your friends, the people that you trust, are willing to tell you, yeah, what you did, as much as you mean to me, I would have broken up with you. Hey, we're best friends, but if you did that to my sister, I'd run you over with a truck accidentally. If your own family members are telling you, what you did was over the line, and as much as they love you, you're the one in the wrong, you should probably go apologize. That's a good indicator that you were actually the cause despite the pain that you're feeling right now. Number two, ask yourself, if you were in their position, would you break up with them? A lot of times a client will say, I really just feel like I've been thinking about this, I've been praying about this, and I really think I owe them the apology. Yeah, but wait, didn't she cheat on you by sleeping with your brother? Didn't she empty your bank account and go to Vegas with your best friend last week? Yeah, I know. She did that and it was wrong. But I did tell her she was acting silly the night before she left for the weekend. And I had no right, despite what she did to me, I had no right to say that she was silly. That's probably what set her off. She was probably on her way to buy me a nice gift, some chocolates and some flowers, but then I called her silly, and that's when she decided to empty the bank account and leave with my best friend for Vegas for the weekend. So I really think I caused that. As stupid as that sounds, and that's an exaggeration, but not by much. I talk to clients all the time that will endure and justify and tolerate behavior that on a scale of 1 to 10 is a trillion, but they're holding themselves accountable for a 3, convincing themselves that if they had been just perfect, this never would have happened. So ask yourself, if the thing that is weighing so heavily on your conscience, if you'd be instantly willing to justify, rationalize, forgive, and work through the very thing that you're tormenting yourself over now, chances are you shouldn't be reaching out and apologizing. Especially if you're, again, trying to take accountability and prove to them how much they're worth to you by doing a thorough inventory of all your wrongdoing while you're justifying worse actions from them that they show no remorse, no accountability, and no desire to make right with you. You're chasing after a toxic relationship, but toxic relationships are addictive, and that addiction, that torment, that intensity that you're feeling will convince you that you just need to keep chasing. You become convinced that even though you're in a toxic relationship, that the key to get through to that toxic, abusive person is to be the example of the kind of loving, sincere, honest, authentic, and humble person that they will never become. Maybe if you stay that person, you'll become the guiding light that teaches them how they should start reacting to you. I hope that makes sense. If you're apologizing to them to try to teach them morality, character, and how they should be responding to you without them having any desire to show you that kind of respect, stop chasing. You're just humiliating yourself. Another way to say this is to say, stop thinking that by tolerating and enduring endless disrespect and abuse, that somehow your quiet, dedicated suffering is going to be the ultimate example that teaches them what true love looks like. You don't increase attraction and prove true love by taking unwarranted abuse. All you do is prove that you were never worthy of their attraction, you're never worthy of their respect, and you're never worthy of the relationship in the first place. The third thing to ask yourself is, have you already tried to apologize for this before? As funny as it sounds, somebody will say, since the breakup, I've really been thinking about everything. I've been praying about everything. And I just keep coming back to this. I keep coming back to the fact that I didn't really listen when they told me everything that they needed. I wasn't willing to change. I didn't change enough. I didn't really meet what they told me that they had to have in a relationship. But now that I've been in this torment after the breakup, I've really had some revelations. I've had some epiphanies, and I just need to reach out to them. Now, I'm not going to reach out and beg and plead. Don't worry. I know not to do that. But I do feel like I need to reach out and apologize. I do feel like they need to at least know that I can see it now. But if you already tried to tell them when they were breaking up with you that you were sorry, if you already tried to tell them that you would love the chance to work it out, you were probably already authentically open to hearing their complaints and telling you what they needed to stay in the relationship at the time of the breakup. So if you said anything while they were breaking up with you, like, can we work this out? I can see what you're saying. I can make those changes. Tell me what you need. That you wanted to do whatever you needed to do to keep the relationship. Don't think that now being specific is going to be the thing that pulls them back in. But if you're in pain, again, your pain will convince you. Your pain is evidence to you that you belong with that person. People will say this all the time. I've gone through breakups, but I've never hurt like this. I've gone through breakups before. I've had people dump me before, and it hurt, but I've never hurt like this. And they're saying it as if to say, this pain is undeniable evidence to me that I belong with that person. I wouldn't hurt like this if they weren't the person I'm supposed to be with. I wouldn't hurt like this if I was ever really going to get over them. And the fear in the moment with the pain so intense is that you're never actually going to get over this moment. You can already play out every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, every birthday, every anniversary. You're playing out your whole life imagining that the pain you're in right now is going to stick with you through the rest of your days. And in that kind of pain and fear, you're highly motivated. And in that motivation, you find all the reasons, all the moments you could change, all the things you could do over, and you want to collect all those things and take it to them. Look, see, I know why you broke up with me. I was imperfect in 327 ways, but I've changed 473 ways for the better. And I just need to reach out and tell you that. Don't worry, I'm not pleading. I'm not chasing. I'm just apologizing and let them know that I'm taking accountability. I even saw a Coach Ken video where he said, if you caused the breakup, you should take ownership of that. So that's what I'm doing now. That's not what I'm talking about. Again, don't apologize for imperfections. Even sincere flaws. Like I have flaws. I have sincere flaws, things that my wife has to be patient and merciful for. But there's a difference in that, in me cheating on her. There's a difference in that, in me being abusive towards her. There's a difference in that, in me going out and spending everything on earbuds and video games and not being able to pay the mortgage. If it's an imperfection, don't let your pain hyperanalyze yourself to the point of worthlessness. So you have to make a vow to become a completely different person to prove that you're worthy of drawing that person back. Projecting strength, projecting resilience is far more attractive than endless promises of being able to be better. Nobody ever reignited attraction by saying, I know I didn't deserve you before, but now I realize how amazing you are, and if you give me one more chance, I'll prove that I can be worthy of you. That's humbling, that's complimentary, but it's not attraction building. It actually elevates their sense of self-worth. The metaphor I use is the house and the porch. If somebody breaks up with you, they're asking you to move out of the house. If you go out of the house, but you're in such emotional pain that you stay on the porch and keep apologizing, keep finding little reasons to slide the note under the door. Now that I've been out on the porch for a while, I've realized I should have listened to you more. Now that I haven't been in the house with you for a while, I've realized I should have told you you were beautiful more every day. I should have made more time for vacation. Don't keep endlessly apologizing for these true, meaningful, sincere revelations that you're having, thinking that that's going to reignite attraction. If you've already pleaded, pursued, and tried to persuade them to stay in the relationship, specific little insights are not going to be the thing that reawakens attraction and has them come running back to you tearfully. As a matter of fact, what it'll tend to do is reinforce the idea that they haven't lost you. If somebody's on the porch knocking on the door all the time, it's really hard to miss somebody who won't go away. Every time there's a knock at the door, you open the door. Hey, I also realized I messed this up. Okay, thanks. You don't miss the person camped out on the porch. You miss the person who's strong enough to walk away. As a matter of fact, one of the other dangers of trying to take accountability when you actually did cause the end of the relationship, somebody might realize that they authentically were the cause of the breakup. They really acted in a way that there's no excuse for. And now they have a life-changing moment of, I don't want to be that person anymore. Even then, just articulate it clearly. Take accountability for it. Own it. But don't keep chasing it. The more you keep apologizing, you can actually do something wrong, apologize, take ownership for it, and have a chance to heal the relationship, but then people sabotage it. Because even if you got something wrong, something serious, something significant, a repeated commitment to repeating your apology for the next 2 years and thinking somehow that groveling, begging, and pleading in desperation and remorse and shame is going to rebuild and spike attraction is not realistic. Even if you got something wrong, own it. But don't let that shame make you become so emotionally dependent on them that it drains attraction. Own it like a grown-up. Show the strength to be able to walk away, but the desire to stay and fix it if that's what they want. Don't think your remorse, your regret, and your guilt is going to be the thing that reignites that passionate flame and brings them back to you. Because chances are it's going to inflate an already overblown sense of self-worth. Look, it's human nature. When people break up with other people, it gives them a kind of a boost of importance. They're the one walking away. They're the one with the power. And usually when they make that decision, the person that didn't see it coming, the person who's being rejected, is getting an unexpected shot to their ego, to their sense of worth, to their sense of peace, their sense of value. So instinctively, that person is usually going to fight to hold on to that relationship. Now the person who did the breaking up, who's already feeling elevated in their self-worth, their strength, their position of power, now they're being pursued. So their sense of self-worth is going higher. How they see you is getting a little bit lower. How you're reacting to a rejection is confirming that they probably did the right thing, because now this affection balance is off kilter. They just decided they don't want to be with you. Now you've instantly decided you've never wanted to be with them more. So it works against you. So expressing your shame, your regret, your guilt, your willingness to change It accidentally reinforces an already off-balance power dynamic. So even if you're warranted in making the apology, you can't do it in a way that just drains attraction and builds the idea that you're desperate to be with them. And the last thing I'll say is if you're doing it for a sense of closure, don't chase an apology. Don't become convinced that you need to reach out and take ownership and accountability for everything you got wrong in the relationship, because in your mind, in your heart, that'll give you closure. 99 times out of 100, that's not true. What you're really hoping is that if you share those thoughts, that will give them motivation to step back into the relationship. A sense of closure is another way of saying, I need this to emotionally make sense. Or the panic and the pain will tell you, even if I lose them, I've still got one bullet left in my barrel. I have to take a shot. Pain makes you desperate. Desperate makes you want to try to fight with everything that you have. And sometimes the last shot that you have is that accountability, that apology. And you tell yourself, well, if I don't take this last shot by creating an opportunity to have a conversation with them, and the most justifiable explanation I can come up with is taking ownership for everything I got wrong in the relationship. So it feels like you're not using everything at your disposal to fight for the relationship. So you'll tell yourself, I can't get closure until I reach out and apologize. That's not really closure that you're after. You're calling it closure, but what you're really hoping is an end to this pain. And you feel like, well, I can't walk away until I've tried everything that I have. But sometimes that last thing that you're trying out of desperation projects desperation. So the problem is when we convince ourselves that the desperation that we're in and the panic that we're in and that overwhelming pain that we're in is actually the driving force behind our need for closure. When we have that interaction, when we have that conversation, don't think that that desperation is not going to come pouring out. Your ex is going to see right through that. It's not going to actually come across like this strong moment of revelation where you're sharing sincere regret. It's going to come across like you're so hurt, you're so wounded, and you're so desperate to win them back that you're sharing every little insight, every little change that you've realized. What you're really doing is giving them a counter offer. It's like, hey, I know you walked away from me before, but since you've been gone, I'm willing to work on this. I'm going to work out. I'm going to work on my spending. I'm going to work on my cleanliness. I'm going to work on my hair. You put together, you're making a counter offer. It's not really closure that you're after. You're giving them your last best offer to come back to the newest version of you. And that's not attractive. Projecting strength is attractive. Accidentally projecting desperation and calling it a need for closure is only going to overblow that sense of self-worth of them and affect how they see you in a negative way again. Again, do this little exercise. Imagine you're breaking up with somebody and they keep apologizing. They keep making promises. They keep telling you they need a conversation with you for closure. Even if you're kind, even if you feel sympathy and guilt for them, internally, you're even going to start getting annoyed because you'll see that as emotional dependence on you. And emotional dependence on you is not attractive. People aren't attracted to people out of emotional dependency. We tend to be attracted to strength. We tend to be attracted to characteristics and aspects of life that make us feel like we're going on an adventure with the person we love. Most of us aren't with somebody because we know if they didn't have us, they'd be broken without us, because that's not attractive. So take a deep breath before you make that commitment and take that desperate last shot because you need closure or you want to take accountability for what you got wrong. And make sure that it's warranted. And make sure when you do it, you present it in a way that still frames you with strength, depth, understanding, and regret, but not weakness, not an inability to live without them, because that will only hurt you. I hope this makes sense. I know all details matter. Every situation is a little bit different. So if I can't help, you can find me at realcoachken.com, and I'll be back again soon. Please give me a like, share, and subscribe if this has been of any help to you. Thanks a lot.